So today we're looking at practice test 4, the writing and language section, only standard English convention questions, and there are 20 of them. Number 1. Siqueiros was asked to celebrate tropical America in his work. He accordingly titled it America Tropical. B is our best choice because the relative clause appropriately modifies the noun work in the preceding independent clause. We need a subordinating conjunction, such as which, and it relates back to the work. Number 3. He painted the mural's first two sections featuring images of a tropical rainforest and a Maya pyramid during the day. Also, to avoid scrutiny, Siqueiros painted the final section of the mural, the centerpiece, at night. B is correct here, as the centerpiece is an A positive, and it describes the mural. We should set it apart by commas on both sides. There's already a comma after mural. There needs to be one after centerpiece as well. 6. The reason for Siqueiros' secrecy became clear when the mural was confided. The centerpiece of the work was dominated by images of native people being oppressed and including an eagle symbolizing the United States. B was a better answer. Included. It creates a past tense construction consistent with was dominated. We needed the verb in the past tense. Number 7. At the same time, a social and civil rights movement for Mexican Americans was working to raise awareness of Mexican American cultural identity. Artists associated with this began to rediscover and promote the work of Mexican muralists, particularly Siqueiros. Choice D, this movement, is the best answer. It's the most precise choice, specifying the noun that the demonstrative pronoun this refers to. It's unclear what this refers to until we add the word movement. There were several nouns in the previous sentence, and now we know we're talking about the social and civil rights movement. Number 9. Hundreds of large, colorful new murals depicting elements of Mexican American life and history appeared during this period, some in designated cultural locations, but many more in abandoned lots on unused buildings, or painted on infrastructure such as highways and bridges. C was the best choice, on. This creates parallel construction within the list of locations. Earlier we saw in abandoned lots, on unused buildings, so it would make sense to have on infrastructure. We don't have a verb like painted in the previous instances. Number 12. Some people buy organic food because they believe organically grown crops are more nutritious and safer for consumption than the people who purchase their conventionally grown counterparts, which are usually produced with pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. D is the best choice to delete the underlined portion, because without it, the sentence contains an appropriate parallel contrast between the phrases organically grown crops and conventionally grown counterparts, each of which describes crops. 13. Some people buy organic food because they believe organically grown crops are more nutritious and safer for consumption than the people who purchase their conventionally grown counterparts, which are usually produced with pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. In the name of health, spending $1.60 for every dollar they would have spent on food that is grown in a manner that is considered conventional. B was the best choice. It provides the subject, consumers, creating a complete sentence, and providing a referent for the pronoun they that appears later in the sentence. They needs to refer to someone. The consumers, well, it gives the sentence a subject. 19. According to such organizations as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the minute amounts of residue falling within such limits have no negative impact on human health. A is the best answer, no change, because the plural verb have is consistent with the plural subject amounts. 21. Proponents of organic food, of course, are quick to add that there are numerous other reasons to buy organic food, such as a desire to protect the environment from potentially damaging pesticides, or a preference for the taste of organically grown foods. 21 was B. There are, because the plural noun phrase numerous other reasons must be preceded by a plural verb, such as are, and a pronoun that does not indicate possession. Their was wrong because that's the possessive form. 22. Proponents of organic food, of course, are quick to add that there are numerous other reasons to buy organic food, such as a desire to protect the environment from potentially damaging pesticides, or a preference for the taste of organically grown foods. D is the best answer, because a non-restrictive clause must be preceded by a comma. In addition, such as is never followed by a comma. We wouldn't want to use a phrase like such as and a colon. That would be redundant. No commas after such as, and this has too many commas. We don't need both. That's why D was correct. 24. Research on regional variations in English language use has not only yielded answers to such life-altering questions as how people in different parts of the United States refer to carbonated beverages such as soda, pop, or Coke, it also illustrates how technology can change the very nature of research. C is the best choice here, changing it to but, because but also is a transition that completes the correlative pair, not only, but also. Earlier on, we had not only, but also completes that pair. 28. Not all research into regional English varieties requires such time, effort, and resources, however. A, no change, is the best answer, because the singular verb requires, notice with the S, singular, agrees with the singular subject, research. You might have been tricked by the S on varieties thinking it should have been require, but that was not the subject. 29. Today's researchers have found that the veritable army of trained volunteers traveling the country conducting face-to-face interviews can sometimes be replaced by another army, the vast array of individuals volunteering details about their lives and inadvertently their language through social media. D was the best choice here. We needed the colon there. It's the correct punctuation to introduce the elaborating phrase that follows the word army. So this whole phrase tells you what army we're talking about. 30. Bryce Russ of Ohio State University, for example, has employed software to sort through postings on one social media site in search of particular words and phrases of interest, as well as the location from which users are posting. B is the best answer. This is the correct form of the word site, as well as the correct preposition to complete the collocation in search of. In search for is grammatically flawed. 32. As interesting as Russ's findings are, though, their true value lies in their reminder that the Internet is not merely a sophisticated tool for collecting data, but is also itself a rich source of data. B, their true value lies in there, is the best answer, because it contains the two plural possessive pronouns needed to refer to the subject, findings. There's our subject, and their is a plural possessive pronoun, and their, again, plural possessive pronoun. 34. There were a number of steps you can take to determine whether game design is the right field for you, and if it is, to prepare yourself for such a career. C is the best choice, are, because it uses the present tense, which is consistent with the verbs is and prepare that use the present tense later in the sentence. Were is in the past tense, or was or has been. 35. The designer envisions the game's fundamental elements, the settings, characters, and plots that make each game unique, and is thus a primary creative force behind a video game. C is correct. The dashes correctly bracket the examples of the types of elements. So this part here, the settings, characters, and plots, should be set apart. The reason why A would be incorrect is because this additional comma after our colon would indicate that this is another item in our series, and is thus a primary creative force. But it's not. The series is over and we're making a separate point. So that colon is used incorrectly. And if you notice, choice B is very similar, but they don't even have that comma. So you would be grouping and is thus a primary creative force with this last item in the series, which is also incorrect. And D, the semicolon is wrong because it's not a complete sentence between the settings, characters, and plots that make each game unique is missing something. 36. Conceptualizing a game is only the beginning of a video game designer's job. However, no matter how good a concept is, it will never be translated into a video game unless it is communicated effectively to all the other members of the video game development team. B is the best answer, because a period is an appropriate way to separate the two independent clauses that meet at the underlined text. A comma alone is a comma splice. A dash nor a comma are correct here for C, and D with no punctuation is definitely incorrect. 40. A designer must generate extensive documentation and explain his or her ideas clearly in order to ensure that the programmers, artists, and others on the team all share the same vision. Likewise, anyone considering a career as a video game designer must be skilled writers and speakers. B is the best choice, a skilled writer and speaker, because it provides the singular nouns writer and speaker that agree with the singular pronoun anyone. 43. Although demanding and deadline-driven, video game design can be a lucrative and rewarding field for people who love gaming and have prepared themselves with the necessary skills and knowledge. A, no change, is the best answer. It provides a logical subject for the modifying phrase demanding and deadline-driven. So this modifies the subject here, and the other choices do not have a subject in the correct position for the modifier.